Hello and welcome. You're watching Jab We Met. Over the last several days, the Jawaharlal Nehru University has once again been in the eye of a national storm. And the man in the crosshairs is my guest on the show this week, the Vice-Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Jagadesh Kumar. Sir, welcome to Jab We Met.
Thank you, Rahul.
I see some of the remnants of the protests can still be seen. The Vice-Chancellor must resign. Lots of graffiti on the ground, lots of graffiti, and this is the main administrative block building of the Jawaharlal Nehru University.
Right. What you are seeing is very little. If you had come 2 weeks ago, you would have seen the entire admin block completely vandalized by some of the protesting students. We have cleaned it up now. That is why it is looking a bit more clean now.
You know, but you have really become, in many ways, the centerpiece of a massive agitation. You know, for many you're a villain. They see you with a lot of suspicion.
Right.
And they're saying it's because of the Vice-Chancellor's attitude, the manner in which he's conducting himself, that things have gone so badly out of control. How do you respond to that, Vice-Chancellor?
Well, I completely deny that. See, any decision that we take in this university, it is widely discussed in the statutory bodies such as the Academic Council and Executive Council. And after a thorough discussion, only decisions are taken, be it starting of a new school or a new program or any decision related to hostels or academic programs. These are all thoroughly discussed and debated. Only decisions are taken. Vice-Chancellor alone cannot take any decision unilaterally. If anybody is saying that, that is a complete lie.
You've been saying, Vice-Chancellor, that a lot of those shocking protests that we saw on Sunday evening with these masked goons coming in, beating up students, actually started much earlier.
Right.
They started because of the fee hike. Can you explain, before I get into the specifics of what happened on Sunday, how you see the build-up to this episode and what you think happened on Sunday and why?
Well, this build-up of this strike has many origins, starting from the committee that we formed in 2016 to look at the expenditures incurred by the hostels, because some of the expenditure incurred by the hostels, such as electricity charges and water charges and the salaries that we pay to the contractual staff in the messes, they had to be borne either through the internal resources of the university or it has to be paid by the students. But as you know, the internal receipts of our university, they come from various components such as the tuition fee. And our tuition fee is only 300 rupees per month, per year. And we have no plans to increase the tuition fee. So how do you manage to meet this expenditure? UGC has also said that this expenditure has to be met through internal resources. So in that context, we formed a committee and we came out with a plan and we put it on JNU website for a wider discussion and feedback. And then only we announced that this is the possible expenditure for the utility and service charges and the students had to pay. And that is how the whole issue started. And the students said that...
So there was protest simmering in the university and we can clearly see the remnants of that around your building block. But I want to understand, for those 3 hours between say 6 p.m. on Sunday and 9 p.m. on your watch, Vice-Chancellor, there was mayhem in this university.
You see, on Sunday, I was right here in this admin block, right from the morning to about 4:30, conducting some faculty selection committee meetings. Around 4:30, we came to know that a large number of students, about 100 or 120 students, were very aggressively moving right in front of the ad block to the other hostels. As soon as we came to know about it, we sent our security to manage the situation, and by about 5 o'clock it became apparent that the students were aggressive. There was a possibility of physical violence, and that is when we contacted the police. And the police did arrive with the help of security guards.
So which students were these? Were these students of the left unions? Were these students of the ABVP? What's your reading of the situation?
See, as the head of the institute, for me, all my students are same. I don't distribute them into any camps. But what happened on 5th also has its origins on what happened the past few days. We have our CIS Communication and Information Systems Office here, and this houses the data centers and which is the nerve center of the entire university. So one day before, few students, about 10 or 12 students with their faces completely covered with clothes, they came and they abused and forced the technical staff to come out of the CIS premises, and they took control of our data center and shut down the whole thing. So I am wondering if the students who are protesting, if they are working for a right cause, why should they cover their faces? Why should they hide their faces? They could have simply protested, right? And that is the first time that we have seen in the history of the university protesting students coming with their faces completely covered. And this is what makes me wonder that there must be something wrong in their protest.
So you've been saying, and we've seen your statements, that this was an action and then there was a reaction, and that's the genesis of the violence. But the fact is that there were students belonging to largely left unions who were beaten black and blue on Sunday. I want to understand from you, Vice-Chancellor, why did that happen? Who did it in your view?
You see, that only an investigation can bring it out. The Delhi police has formed a committee headed by a joint commissioner, and the police team did come to the university. They met us. I spoke to them personally, and we will provide all the CCTV footage that we have, all the other evidence that we have. Let them investigate and find it out. But let me also add one more thing. You see, all our CCTV data is connected to our data center, and perhaps the students who were involved in the data center incident, they deliberately perhaps damage the data center so that, in future, if there is going to be any such incident, the CCTVs cannot cover it. And that is what happened on 5th. Our data center was down, and many of our CCTV, they were unable to capture the data. So there seems to be some link between what happened on 5th and what happened on 3rd.
No, so are you then suggesting, Vice-Chancellor, that it is your belief, even though ultimately it will be borne out by a police inquiry, that it's the left-leaning students who themselves engineered the violence on Sunday? Is that what you are trying to say?
I am only mentioning the observation that all of us have observed, that on 3rd something has happened and they shut down the data center, which then, you can see that on 5th what happened, you cannot really recover the data from the CCTVs. Right?
But sir, in any investigation, you would look at who's got beaten up. If you see, largely it's the left-leaning students who've been beaten up. So surely it's not goons from the left who are beating up their own student leaders. That would make no sense.
That is what I am trying to say. Let us not make any prior assumptions. Let the investigating team investigate it.
Can we walk towards the data center that you're talking about?
We will walk from here.
We can walk towards the data center?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's head in that direction. No, sir, because there are several other questions that still remain to be answered. The lights apparently went off. In the middle of the violence and the carnage that was being unleashed at Jawaharlal Nehru University, the lights went off. Why did that happen, Vice-Chancellor?
Is that in the campus?
Around the campus, and in the campus there were no lights.
In the campus there was no problem, because in the campus the electricity supply is in our engineers' control. There was absolutely no problem. And what happened
outside? So lights
outside,
did not go off inside JNU, you're saying?
Inside the campus there was nobody reported me any problem with the electricity supply in the campus. Outside the campus, if something has happened, we are not responsible for it. Who did it? We don't know.
So why was there a delay in calling the police? Why did the police not come in on time and stop the violence from going out of control?
See, this is one thing that I would like to make it very clear. That when we call the police, people criticize, why did you call the police to the educational institution? When we don't call the police, then people question me saying, why you did not call police at all? You see, we don't call the police at the drop of hat just like that. First, we would like to assess the situation and see if our security guards can manage the situation, and then only when it goes out of control, if there is a real law and order situation, then we approach the police. And that is what we did.
When there are people with rods and sticks running amok on campus, surely that's reason to call the police?
That is what I am saying. At 4:30, when we came to know that a group of students were aggressively moving, we did send our security guards, and they assessed the situation. You see, it takes a few minutes of time for them to reach there and assess the situation, and after that only they called the police. and there were several calls to PCR vans. We also informed the police station, and then afterwards they came here.
Why did the police that you have, your local security guards, not stop this violence, Vice Chancellor?
You see, when a mob of 100 students who are aggressively moving around, the security guards, they did their best. And it's a question of why they didn't stop, why they could have avoided the violence. These are questions that the investigation team will see. What were the circumstances under which the security guards could not control the situation? Those things will come out. Let us wait and wait for the report.
But you do realize, Vice Chancellor, that the principal charge against you, and in the eyes of people who are looking at what's happening, the charge against you is this, that you allowed the violence to happen, that you didn't push the police force because these were left-leaning students who were beaten up.
Absolutely not.
You wanted to send that message to them because they were protesting against the hostel fee hike.
Right from the beginning of this interview, I made it clear that we don't differentiate our students into any camps. For us, all students are same. When students are, there is a possibility of violence our own students, we will definitely act, and that is what we did.
How do you respond to the criticism and the allegation that you are largely seen as a political appointee brought into Jawaharlal Nehru University to try and change the fundamental character of the university, that JNU is the one eyesore that the Modi government doesn't like and you want to alter its character?
I think one has to look at my own background. I am a professor of electrical engineering at IIT Delhi. I was a student at IIT Madras. I am an academician working in the area of nanotechnology, right? When I came to this university, my primary objective was to make sure that to strengthen the existing capabilities of the university and then broaden the academic programs so that it becomes a comprehensive university and it moves forward and becomes one of the best universities in the world. That was my objective of coming here. Otherwise, why would I come here?
Are you a fan of Prime Minister Modi? Are you a believer in the ideology of the RSS, Vice Chancellor?
You see, I believe in the concept of working together so that all sections of our country will progress and make our country one of the great leaders in the world. And I'm sure you're also with me on that.
No, sure, but that doesn't answer the charge. The charge is that is this Vice Chancellor at Jawaharlal Nehru University a person who is in cahoots with the central government, who's doing the central government's bidding? Because you've seen at the senior most levels in government, there's a constant attack at JNU. The question to you, sir, is this. Are you pushing the central government's agenda at JNU? How do you
I have always defended my university. It is one of the best central universities, and our faculty have done outstanding work in their research fields, and you have seen how our alumni have contributed to our country, and I will always defend my university, and I would like to see that this university grows and becomes better than what it is today.
When you were appointed Vice Chancellor, there were many in JNU and outside who said that here is somebody who comes from a largely engineering technical background. He's been at IIT, he hasn't been part of a JNU-like culture, and therefore questions were raised about your suitability for the job.
Right.
How do you respond to those critics?
You see, when you look at higher education, the challenges are same. Whether the university is more technology oriented or whether it is social sciences or medical sciences, the challenges are same. How do you make our education more accessible? How do you encourage excellence in the universities? Can we, from time to time, make sure that what we are doing in the university is relevant to our societal needs? No, these are the challenges that we have in higher education. So therefore, I don't think that an electrical engineer cannot become the head of an institute where there is no electrical engineering, right? If you look at some of the best universities in the world, Waterloo University, where I did my postdoctoral research, it is supposed to be #1 engineering university in Canada. But you know the president of that university, he was a professor of English, right? So this cross-disciplinary interaction will actually strengthen the education. In fact, that is what we have done. When we started the School of Engineering here, we have started a very unique program. It's a 5 years program where first 4 years the students will do the technical subjects, and in 5th year they focus on social sciences, they focus on languages. And JNU is the only university which has this unique program. And if you think that I am only an electrical engineer, I would not have thought and conceived a program which integrates social sciences and also engineering.
But the academics who oppose you say this is largely a humanities university, social sciences university. And because you've been brought in from the outside, you're trying to change its fundamental nature by trying to make it even an engineering university.
Okay. You see, if you look at any of the top 100 universities in the world, and that is where we want to be, right? None of those universities is a specialist university. It's a comprehensive university. And that is what we are trying to do. We are expanding the academic programs in the university. We have brought in School of Management and Entrepreneurship, School of Engineering, a special center for national security studies, a special center for disaster studies. See, we need to expand our academic programs. We need to become a comprehensive university if we want to reach the top among the universities of the world.
We've now reached the Communication and Information Services office. This is where your server room is housed?
This is where our server room is
This
housed.
is where you say that left-leaning students or those who were opposing your hostel fee hike reach. Come, let's go in.
The protesting students came here and they asked all the technical staff to come out of...
so this whole place has been locked and barricaded since?
Right now, yes, because there is very, very expensive equipment here. We don't want a repeat of that incident here, and that is why we have secured it.
So what happened in the server room, Vice Chancellor?
Well, as you can see, the servers are placed there and there are a lot of cables. People came here into this room very violently. They pulled out all the cables. They disrupted the power supply. And you see, servers cannot be just shut down like that. It has a process. When you suddenly shut it down, there is a possibility of huge damage. And that is what has happened. And it took almost 3 days for our technical staff, day and night, in order to restore the systems here.
So, you know, you've lodged some cases against the current president of the Jawaharlal Nehru University Students' Union.
Right.
You think that the students' body and the JNU so is responsible for attacking the server room?
You see, there is an investigation that is going on at 2 levels. One, the Delhi police is investigating. 2, the chief proctor office is also investigating. What happens is whenever...
So, what happened over here? All these cables were pulled out.
Oh yes, if you pull out these cables, it's very, very difficult to reconfigure them and
what
then connect.
impact did this have on the running of the university?
Oh, the entire university nervous center is this, because all our operations are based on the communication network. Whether I clear the leaves of the faculty, whether I clear the degrees of the students, or if I had to give a medical support to an emergency case, all such cases will be shut down if this data center is shut down.
And you're saying that we may never know what really happened on the 5th because the CCTV is also controlled from here.
The CCTV data is it comes here, right, over the network. And that is where I am saying that perhaps it was a planned attack on the data center to bring down the university so that no other operations will take place. And the very reason that they come with their faces completely masked, that leaves no doubt that they had some ulterior motive of coming and attacking this data center.
So that happened in the build-up to the violence on Sunday, but there were masked goons on Sunday as well. Do you think they're the same people, Vice Chancellor, or do you accept that it's a different gang? That there was earlier a protest by the left which led to a massive backlash from the right which went violent and completely out of control.
Right. We don't want to make any assumptions now because we don't want to influence the investigations that are taking place. Both our Chief Proctor's office is investigating and also the Delhi police is investigating, and the truth will come out soon.
Is it correct that you had suggested, Vice Chancellor, that let's shut the university down for a short while? That the delegation of yours that had met the HRD ministry had suggested, as has been reported widely, that let's shut the university down so that sense and calm can be restored.
Just this morning I had a long meeting with the Secretary, Amit Khareji at MHRD, and we made it very clear that there are a large number of students who want to resume their studies. There are thousands of students who are already registering for their winter semester. And we want to stand by these students. We want to stand by the teachers who want to carry on their research in their labs. So therefore, we have absolutely no plans of closing down the university. We want to continue with our academic activities, and we want to help every student and faculty in carrying out their academic activities. I don't know from where this news is coming out.
There are some faculty members who've been alleging that part of the problem is the manner in which you've carried out your duties as Vice-Chancellor. Their charge is that you're very aloof, that some consider you arrogant, that you don't talk to them enough, you don't engage enough. They say that if you wanted to resolve some of these problems through negotiation and dialogue, some of these problems could have been resolved.
Right. See, anybody who has interacted with me, who has worked with me, will understand that whatever you are saying is completely untrue. Right? I am a very, very accessible person. In fact, every month, one Monday afternoon is reserved for the students to come and meet me without an appointment. The second Monday is reserved for the faculty to come and meet me without an appointment. A third Monday is reserved for the staff to come and meet me without an appointment. And if anybody seeks an appointment, I am always available. And I keep walking around in the campus. I am freely available person. So if anybody says I'm an aloof person, I don't discuss with people, I'm an arrogant.
Say you keep going off to IIT. The moment there's trouble, the Vice-Chancellor is in IIT.
Absolutely not. I'm always here. There is a CCTV in front of my home. You can take the CCTV footage from my home, and you will find that I'm here 24/7. The only time I go to the IIT is on the day I have a class at 8 o'clock in IIT. From 8 to 8:50, I take my lecture, and then I come back to IIT. Oh, this is where I was chased.
You were chased?
I was chased here because I came here to check if the examination centers are functioning properly or not. There were our security guards around me, but a group of 15 to 20 people, they aggressively came running to me. Immediately our people formed a ring around, but they tried to put their hands through the ring, and then they tried to pull me, and it took almost several minutes for the security guards to take me from here to the vehicle, and then they ran there. They broke the window of the car. They did not let the car move. They were so aggressive. If you want to have a discussion, I don't come running to you as if I am going to beat. We will engage in a civilized manner. See, on one side they say, let's have a dialogue, and on the other side, they destroy any possibility of having a meaningful discussion. Let me give you two instances. When our proctors went, when our provosts who are in charges of the hostels, they went to meet the hostel presidents, a large number of students, they grabbed them for 5 to 6 hours, and they forced them to resign. When our senior wardens met the students for a discussion, they did the same thing. Now, you cannot have a discussion by holding your neck. We need to have a civilized
some of what you're saying, because I went to university at Delhi University, I then studied in the UK for a while.
Right.
I find some of this very strange. This whole business of attacking the Vice-Chancellor, smashing the server room.
Yes,
now, there are some who say that student politics mein ye sab hota hai. I, for one, of course, everybody should be allowed to dissent, there should be dialogue, there should be debate, and more power to that.
Yes.
But what do you make of the fact that in Jawaharlal Nehru University in particular, student politics so often takes such a violent turn? Do you think this happens in various universities and JNU gets more highlighted, or is there something in particular कि यहाँ की फिजा में कुछ है?
I completely agree with you that students should have freedom to question, to criticize, to protest, and we provide such an opportunity in our university. In fact, we have allotted a big ground known as Sabarmati ground, where students can join together and then protest. And this is what we do in our education, in the classroom, that don't listen to the authority blindly. You question, you understand. Only then you accept what is being told to you. And this is a culture that we must encourage among the students, to question, to understand the issue, and then only accept it. And that's what we do.
At this moment, Vice-Chancellor, there is a massive trust deficit between you, between your students, between you and many of the faculty members. What do you believe are the way forward? How will you find healing in this?
You see, if there is a trust deficit, For example, take the example of the hostel charges. Today there are thousands of students who are registering for the winter semester by paying for the hostel charges. So how can you say that there is a trust deficit? And when you are talking about teachers and students, please do not forget about thousands of the innocent students who are not part of this agitation, who want to carry on with their academic activities, and also hundreds of faculty. We have about 600 faculty in the campus, and hundreds of them, they would like to pursue their academic activities. So please think about them also. Sometimes I fail to understand why is that the entire groups of people, media and everywhere, they are only standing for the protesting students. What about the rights of the thousands of other students and teachers when they are prevented from entering their labs, when they are prevented from entering their schools? Why are you not talking about their fundamental rights? This is what pains me.
No, sure. I don't think anybody can take away from the fact that everybody who wants to register, pay the fees,
right,
they should be allowed to register.
Right.
Vandalizing server rooms,
correct,
it's totally wrong. There is no question about that. But
right,
questions have been asked, Vice Chancellor, about your lack of empathy towards those students who got beaten up. The JNU Student Union President, you haven't gone and met her, you haven't been to AIMS, you haven't met the students who got, as the father figure here,
right,
as the Vice Chancellor,
right,
shouldn't you have done that, sir?
You see, I said right on that day that our heart goes out to all my students who have been injured in that incident, and they were immediately taken to AIMS. And after that, when they were discharged, when they came back to the university, we have a medical center and we have a system of giving free medicines, and the doctor is available 24/7, and we have 2 ambulances. If there is any problem, we can immediately ship them to AIMS or Safdarjung, and we are taking care of their health. Typically what happens in the hostel system is there are wardens, there is associate deans, there is a dean, and they take care of the safety, security and health issues of the students, and that has already been done.
No, my question is, some of your students got beaten up. You're saying you don't see whether they're left or right. As the Vice Chancellor,
absolutely,
shouldn't you have gone and met them, sir?
That is what I am saying. Their health and their safety, they are taken care of, and we will always meet the students. Let them recover. We will definitely meet the students.
How do you see the next step being taken? You know, when it comes to these students who are protesting against your hostel fees hike, what will be the next step? Where is JNU going from here?
You see, this hostel charge hike is really hyped up, right? We have already put the utility and service charges on hold because there was an agreement with the MHRD. So we have requested UGC to pay for those utility and service charges. The only hike is the room rent, which is from 10 rupees to 300 rupees. And as you can see from the registration data, thousands of students, they have absolutely no objection to that, and they are paying that 300 rupees for the room rent, and they are getting registered. So I don't see any problem at all with that.
We're standing at this moment in front of this bust of Jawaharlal Nehru, the man on whose name this university draws its name,
right,
and that leads me to wonder, Vice Chancellor, what do you think of Jawaharlal Nehru?
He's a great personality. So we are standing right in front of a person who
are you a fan? Are you a critic?
Who has given his life for the freedom of this country, and he's our first Prime Minister. All of us should respect him for the contributions that he made.
Would you call him someone you admire? Or were you uncomfortable with his politics and his life?
I admire every freedom fighter who has given their life to get freedom for us. And in fact, sometimes we don't realize the contributions made by our freedom fighters. And that is why, we spend our time in unnecessary issues. I think all of us, we should preserve that freedom. We should work for our country and take it forward.
One of the things you're trying to lay greater emphasis on is academics. Do you think in JNU one of the problems has been the focus on student politics at the expense of focus on what students really should be doing, which is largely studying while they're at university?
That is why I would like to reduce the problem to a smaller size. The problem is not that the entire student community is indulging in any kind of activities that will be detrimental to the university. Majority of the students and faculty, they are focused on their academics, right? Sometimes some of these agitations and dharnas do take place. We try to handle them, we try to convince them, But if they are not willing to listen to the logical explanations, and if they only stick to one stand, then there cannot be any solution. That is why we have been trying to tell the students that whatever hostel charges, they are reasonable, and this money will be given back to the hostels itself to create better facilities, maybe a gym facility or a sports facility or a better TV. This is going to be given back to the students. So I don't see any logic in opposing this small increase in the room rent.
Have you been able to identify any of the students who was involved in the Sunday riots, where so many, almost 30 students of JNU were beaten up?
Right.
Do you, in the prima facie probe that you have done so far, have any leads on who could be responsible?
It is the Chief Proctor's office which depends on the security reports, and security will take some time in collecting the video evidence and CCTV footage, and then they will prepare the report and give it to the Chief Proctor's office, and the same information will also be given to the Delhi Police Committee, which is in the university and talking to people. So it will take some time.
So far you have no leads, because now 3 days have passed and nobody's been arrested, and that's leading to questions ki, is anybody even serious about trying to find out who did this violence?
You see, on one side, people will say that why you have not identified. On the other side, you don't want to identify erroneously somebody also. You need to be careful while identifying any culprits. And that is why we are working very seriously on that.
Soon after your term as Vice-Chancellor started, that whole Umar Khalid, the Kanhaiya episode happened. Now, 3-4 years later, we're seeing this whole masked goons running around beating students. It's been a very, very tumultuous tenure for you as Vice-Chancellor.
It is challenging, definitely, and I like challenges, because when I sit with my students as a researcher, we are staring at big challenges and we are trying to find solutions. And that is how it is in a university. In any university, there will be challenges. And we have to work together to find solutions to those challenges instead of precipitating those issues.
Well, you've taken questions, you've given your point of view. I do hope that we find out who was responsible for the violence in the server room and for the violence on Sunday evening, which saw so many students being beaten up. Vice-Chancellor Professor Kumar, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.